Spend some time examining your conscience to take stock of moments when you've missed the mark, when you feel a distance from yourself and from God, and for that matter, those around you. But chiefly, most importantly, the distance between yourself and from Source. Perhaps you should look into the Hebrew, in the Jewish faith is known as teshuvah. Also, the Ten Commandments can provide a helpful framework for prompting you to think about ways you've missed the mark. It's best to consider them broadly, not literally. For example, with "thou shalt not kill," you may have never committed murder, but have you been violent or abusive? Have you ever injured others with your deeds or your words?
You're traveling to another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. Your next stop, the Twilight Zone.
The Umbanda Zone.
You're traveling to another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind.
But also of fractal holograms. At each moment in our universe, in time, each moment in time within our universe is but one slice of a complex web of infinite possibilities that is unchanging and eternal. Technically, this multiverse may be termed the state vector or wave function of reality. It is a fractal hologram that zooms forever into the future. The fractal itself does not change. It is only our mind that moves through and thereby generates for itself the illusion of space and time. To understand this process, one must understand how holograms work. Holograms encode information by recording the interference pattern between two waves of common frequency. One wave being uniform in consistency and the other having its phase altered by the information to be encoded. The traditional way of making a hologram goes as follows. A laser beam will be split in two. One half shining onto photographic film and the other bouncing off an object before shining onto the film. Much like the double-slit quantum wave theory, wave or particle beam. What is recorded on the film is interference pattern between these two beams, encoding the topography of the object. After the film is developed, the same laser illuminating it will be modulated in phase and intensity by the patron and will reproduce the encoded information, projecting from it a visual replica of the object. The nature of the image projected forth from a hologram depends on the angle, intensity, and frequency color of the laser. Frequency determines what information may be accessed. If the hologram is recorded with a red laser, a green laser will fail to elicit an image. Multiple images can be encoded into a hologram, each called forth by a corresponding laser color. The angle and region of illumination decides what particular information from the range available is selected for projection. In the case of holographic film, the projected image rotates with a rotation in the laser's angle of incidence, or changes to a different image if the laser shines upon a part of film upon which was recorded a different object. Angle and position are both types of phrases. So it is phrase that selects from a given range what image to bring forth. Lastly, Intensity of illumination, amplitude of the wave, determines the degree of fidelity in the projected image. The greater the amplitude, the more accurate and complete the decoded information. The holographic process has metaphysical parallels. The mind of the creator corresponds to the laser source. Archetypes correspond to the objects recorded, and the matrix of existence corresponds to the photographic film. It follows that we as individuals, units of consciousness, are the illuminating laser. The laser's color is the frequency of our emotions. The phrase, our thought patterns, and its amplitude, our level of intent. Just as laser color determines the layer of accessible holographic information, so does our emotional nature determine the archetypical range of accessible experience. Of this range, our thoughts determine the particular phase angle from which this archetype is experienced, and the strength of our intent determines how accurately and vividly it manifests. This is no metaphor. The universe is indeed holographic, but it is also fractal. A fractal is infinitely complex and allows inward or outward zooming without limit. Each zoom level inward is a subset of all previous zooms. In our current state, we are zooming into the fractal and perceiving this motion as progress into the future. And naturally, the future is a subset of all previous probable futures. Though, in truth, time is illusory, because all levels of the fractal exist simultaneously. Once again, this fractal is holographic. We illuminate portions of it in accordance with our emotional nature, thoughts, and intent. However, our emotional nature is complex, and the frequencies comprising it are numerous. Therefore, our consciousness vibrates with a spectrum of frequencies and consequently accesses from the hologram a spectrum of experiential archetypes. Each person has a unique vibratory spectrum, though different individuals may share certain frequencies. This spectrum identifies not only soul composition, but also one's unique learning path in life. Our temperament reflects our soul nature and determines the realm of our experiences. Realms are the personal worlds we inhabit, our sphere of influence, range of perception, and region of activity. They are specific areas of the hologram we illuminate in accordance with our vibratory spectrum, our being, our essence. Every individual projects and occupies a unique, but not necessarily independent realm. Some frequencies are more or less shared and account for consensual realities and mutual experiences. Realms can therefore intersect, supersede, or be subsets of other realms. It's true. The inhabitants of two intersecting realms inevitably cross paths and exchange lessons. These lessons are of an archetypical nature determined by what part of the hologram both realms commonly access. When one realm is a subset of another, those occupying the greater realm will fully understand and perceive those of the more limited realm, but not vice versa. The difference may be small between teacher and student, or adult and child, or great between man and animal, or hyperdimensional being and man. Small differences account for differences in level of understanding, while large differences between realms give rise to differences of perception. This simply means one has a vibratory spectrum that includes and surpasses another. Sometimes two realms are independent, sharing few but the most fundamentals of frequencies. For instance, two people may share the lowest frequencies, placing them on the same physical plane, but their difference in life path will make each an insignificant character in the life of the other. They may cross paths, but only in a superficial manner, and if they are forced to interact or communicate, there is bound to be mutual misunderstanding and lack of interest at best, and aversion or confrontation at worst. Confrontation even. When the difference between realms is extreme, beings of each realm may not even physically perceive each other. Realms are somewhat like movie scripts, each person being the star of his script, but all scripts including others as major, minor, or background characters. NPCs, puppet people, cardboard cutout people, non-player characters. The greater the congruence between the two realms, the more important the role played by each character in the other script. The importance of a character is not determined by how frequently we interact with them, but how meaningfully we do so. We may cross paths with a background character every day, perhaps a neighbor or co-worker, and they leave no more than a fading impression on our souls. Others we may meet only once in life during an experience so meaningful that it marks us for life. Now, there are perceptual limitations to take into account. Realms also signify the boundary of our perception. Sometimes we cannot see the point another is trying to make, or else we cannot understand why they do what they do, which indicates our realm does not extend into certain regions of the hologram they are familiar with. So, on a mundane level, realms delineate what you can identify with and notice. On a more significant level, realms define what you have the ability to perceive. It is possible for another being to be so far outside your realm that you cannot even perceive them, and vice versa. This is for beings whose realms are mutually independent. As for beings occupying realms in which yours is a tiny subset, hyperdimensional beings, for instance, they are normally outside your range of perception, but can choose to manifest visibly by projecting their consciousness into a narrow band of vibration that matches yours. This concept is easy to grasp if you consider the mundane interpretation of realm. When you encounter someone whose realm is a subset of yours, say a small child who has yet to learn the lessons you have already learned, you can choose to simplify your language and communicate on their level. Often, this requires using metaphors they can comprehend. Likewise, hyperdimensional entities wrap themselves in visual forms that we can comprehend. These visual forms are alternate expressions of their vibratory archetypes, just as metaphors are alternate expressions of meaning. Now, hyperdimensional entities wrap themselves in visual forms that we can comprehend. Essentially, God communicates to us, and higher dimensional beings communicate to us, in my experience, with images that you perceive within your third eye or your imagination, etc., etc. But your right-brained activity, especially in your dreams, but the visual phenomena you must pay particular attention to. Particular attention, because that's how the higher dimensions communicate with us. Hit that subscribe button. Leave this video a thumbs up. And keep your mind open for images that come, divine images, because they will come in the days ahead.
Namaste, namaskaram.